Congresswoman Karen Bass, who wrote the House's police reform legislation. We got lots of questions on that, including this one from Natalia. She's an 11-year-old viewer from L.A. After her father actually died in gun violence, she became a young activist. She's a supporter of your bill. Here's her question about police reform.
Hello, Representative Karen Bass. My name is Natalia Jackson. Now, it is very clear and obvious that there is an issue in American policing. What can we do to combat racism from policing and the criminal justice system? Thank you.
She's a remarkable young woman. But to her point, we know that this bill has passed the House. This was your bill on Thursday. The Democrats stopped another bill going forward in the Senate. That was Republican Tim Scott put forward. Where are we at? And are we actually going to see something happen? Because so often in politics, there's all this energy, all this movement, and then all of a sudden, you know, people focus on something else.
Exactly. And there's always the danger for that. But first of all, that's a very impressive young lady. And to ask such a powerful question, I want her to know that I hope she gets involved as a student. I hope she gets involved on her campus, maybe even running for student council, because you're never too young to get involved. But let me just say that the bill that was defeated in the Senate mimicked a lot of parts of our bill, but it didn't have the enforcement. It didn't have the teeth. And what I feel very passionately is with the hundreds of thousands of people who have been protesting in every state in the country and many countries around the world, this is not the time for us to do police reform light. This is the time for transformative change. So it is part of the process, as they say here in Washington. It's how the sausage is made. It's what happens behind the scenes. So we passed our bill. We sent it over to the Senate. They had their bill. Their bill failed. What we're going to do in the meantime is try to bring as much pressure as possible on the Senate to take up our bill. Now, in the meantime, we're all talking. A number of my Republican colleagues came up to me throughout the debate and talked about how they liked different parts of the bill, but they couldn't quite get there to vote for it. But you know what? We did get Republican votes. We had 3 Republicans to vote. That's no small matter, because the president tweeted. And typically what happens is, if the president tweets and instructs the Republicans to vote or not vote, lockstep 100%, that's what they do. So the fact that 3 of them peeled off, the fact that all of the Democrats voted for the bill, and that's no small matter either, because before George Floyd, you would have not had 100% of the Democrats voting for a bill like this. What it indicates is a seismic shift in our country in terms of people's consciousness around policing. Before, when there was a murder, even if there was a murder on videotape, you would do polling, and polls would say, black people think this way, white people think this way. And it was a polar opposite. What has happened now is 70% of white America believes there is a fundamental structural problem with policing in America. And in my life, I've been involved in this issue for decades. This is the first time I have ever seen that happen. And
you've been working on this for 47 years. You were at the George Floyd Memorial.
47 years.
You talked with the George Floyd family and told them that you were going to get this done. So what is the red line for you in the negotiation, the thing that you and Democrats absolutely have to have in that bill in order to pass it?
You know, to say it in general terms, it would be enforcement. So in other words, I don't want to do legislation where there's no way to know whether you've had a difference. So there's a lot of different pieces to it. But if you ask me for what's the common thread, is enforcement, making sure that something sticks. Otherwise, it's window dressing. Now, I want you to know that I'm talking to my Republican colleagues. I was over talking to Senator Scott today. And sometimes after you go through the process of doing the bill, voting for the bill, then you begin talking. So I don't say that nothing is going to happen. I'm still very hopeful that we're going to get a bill on the president's desk. And if we have enough Republican support, the president will sign it.